All right, everyone. Good evening and welcome to week 5 in CE 155, Facility Layout and Design. Chef Suzanne and I welcome you to another fine live session. Good evening, Chef Suzanne.
Good evening.
Hey, 2 weeks left. We have week 5, week 6. It's coming up quick. So let's make sure that we finish strong. Chef Suzanne and I are very proud of this class. There's a lot of outstanding work that has been presented. And we plan on helping everybody out to finish this course in a really strong light. Make sure that if you do need any help, you reach out and you contact us. Both of our numbers are on the right-hand side of the class page. We are here to help you succeed. Give us a call. We will be glad to work with you. Before we dive too far into the session, we need to make sure that we do maintain a certain level of professionalism in all of our communications, please. That includes in the chat room and everything else. So please use your names and as you were given. It just sets a certain sense of professionalism, and culinary arts is a very professional environment, and as things are progressing, we're becoming more and more professional, and we want all of you to have that edge once you get into industry, because it's going to help you go a lot further. It does pay dividends. Week 4, everybody, how'd you like it? What kind of feedback do we have? Does anybody want to share week 4? Yeah, go for it. Sparkling Chef.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, cool. I'm getting a little technical difficulties with my computer.
That's okay.
But regarding, I really appreciated your inputs about the back of the house. How you want to keep the servers out of no man's land.
Yeah.
And I took that into consideration with my design to keep them as far away from the kitchen, where they just need to drop their dirty dishes and get back into the front of the house.
Yeah.
And so I kind of designed it in a way where the door's open and really a nice separation from the kitchen. I appreciated that insight and input.
Yeah, good for you. Good job picking up on that. That's a real important thing. I can't tell you how many servers I've had to boot from the kitchen over the years. Just please stay out, once it gets to that point. Communication in the kitchen is a big issue. We're going to talk about that tonight a little bit. But what you're saying is, if you have servers walking all over the kitchen, it's going to be an operational flow issue. But then as well, something we didn't talk about, if you have servers coming back there and just yelling and barking things that they need to whomever is listening, you're going to have a big breakdown in communication. And traditionally what we have that expediter that works in the window. And if a server needs a side of poppy seed dressing, the server will go to the expediter and ask the expediter for the poppy seed dressing, and then the expediter will bark the order to whomever it should go to. We only listen to one voice on the line, and if we have everybody coming back in the kitchen saying, I need this, I need that, it turns out to be a disaster. Who else would like to share about week 4? Dan, what'd you pick up on?
Well, I have to say that, I keep talking about this corner cafe, and I even put it in my narrative this week that after doing the design of the front of the house, design of the back of the house, getting the feedback that I got, and the flow seems to be fairly consistent on both ends, I may be able to do freestanding rather than step into an office building like the original idea. It's also helping me expand a potential menu beyond what I have. Still keeping a breakfast and lunch kind of scenario, but kind of seeing it on the screen has given me the opportunity to decide that, actually I may be able to provide a lot more than the simplicity that I've actually originally designed. So I'm kind of excited in that position. I'd be curious to see how this progresses from this point forward.
Yeah, those are great comments, Dan. And I to back you up on that, it's going to morph itself and it's going to change itself before you get to your final product. The biggest thing, you have to kind of stick to your guns about what you want and what you can do. And, really focus on that operational aspect, because that's what it's going to come down to at the end of the day. Can I effectively make money in the design of this facility? And that's a question you're going to have to answer yourself.
Well, sure, because honestly, and I'm sorry to interrupt you, but the downside to that was, as I expanded the area that I had to operate, I now had to take payroll into consideration, because it was going to be a mom and pop kind of a joint with maybe somebody at the counter. And now all of a sudden I need 10 employees to operate what I think could be a spectacular place. So it's kind of a one hand to the other hand scenario. It's got me a little mind boggled right now, but paper and pen is always a beautiful thing, because you can write everything down and sort it out.
It's my recommendation is just to be conservative with your initial thought, because in the restaurant industry, it's a lot easier to grow than it is to shrink. So just remember that as you move along.
I will do that. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Heather, what's going on?
Hey, I thought this was really fun.
Oh, you did? Good.
Yeah. This has been the funnest class yet, besides the cooking, but this has been fun. It's actually, like he said, kind of putting it pen on paper. It makes it more of a reality that it actually could happen. And I don't know, her comments back with the hood vent is something that I hadn't thought of, so I had to rearrange a little bit, but it still worked. But it was a lot of fun, and I can totally get it. I get it.
It really stretches the whole thought process, because I think I know I can speak personally that I envision these grandeur restaurants, the restaurants that I've built and developed. I envision them in a very grandeur fashion, but by the time I get it down on pencil paper and then put numbers to everything begins to change quickly. So be realistic about what you want to accomplish and how you can accomplish it and what you can do, and then build upon it. Don't take off more than you can chew. I remember my first executive chef position back when I was a ripe 23 years old and I knew everything about the world. The kitchen was 3,000 square feet, and I was in heaven until we had to start dealing with the operational expense of dealing with a kitchen that size. I will never do that again. I will never have a 3,000 square foot kitchen again. Just the amount of money you pay to clean it. But as a young chef just starting out, hey, the more space, the better, right? Until you become financially liable for those bills, then everything begins to change. Those are some great comments. Thank you, everybody, for sharing. Chef Suzanne, what was your feedback on week 4?
I think in general that this was a really good week. I think this is probably, for most people, the hardest week, especially anyone who doesn't really have a lot of experience working in a kitchen yet. So it's kind of like going in blind, and they're just kind of having to make do and kind of basing it on what we've done here. And I really think that the effort put in, and I know some people may have to redo their assignment, and that's okay. It's okay, because this is something that some of us may have never had to do before. It's completely new, kind of a concept and idea. And no one is thinking it's going to be, perfect the first time out without, a way to back it up. And I know Heather was just saying that, and I think a couple people were just talking about some of the comments that I made about maybe all the hot equipment being together so that it's under one hood vent. Not only is that more efficient, it's also cheaper because hood vents are so expensive. Like somebody else was just saying that keeping the servers from kind of getting too far in. You just want them over by the dish room and getting food, and that's it. So those little things you may not even realize how important they are. And that's kind of where the fresh set of eyes from me looking at it can kind of, point you in the right direction. So this is really a learning kind of an assignment. It's going to, you're going to progress and grow with this here and after you leave here. And so this is just a starting spot. You guys can do so much with this now. This is just your little first taste of it. And I I really think in general the assignments looked really good. And I think this is a tough one.
How are the hand sinks?
I actually think hand sinks and trash cans were not so bad this time. I normally have to say over and over again, don't forget hand sinks, don't forget trash cans, don't forget hand sinks. But this time I think it was more of the thought involved in equipment placement. And to me, that shows a level of attention that shows that everybody was really paying attention. And like I said, this is new stuff. So I was really proud and really impressed. And I do believe I have almost everything graded unless it's committed about the last hour.
Yeah. So. We didn't have that luxury last block, so this is a good class. So
yeah, and that was awesome too, how soon everybody got their assignments in. So kudos on that too, because I love that.
Good job, everybody. What I heard, and thank you, Chef Suzanne. What I heard Chef Suzanne saying right now, I picked up on this kind of goes across life all the way, but especially with your restaurant designs and your diagrams and everything else, it's a really good idea to share that information with some other people in the industry. Don't assume that you've got it right. Go ahead and share it with 4, 5, 6, 7 other people to get their feedback on the project. Because I know Chef Suzanne points out a lot of very valuable things that most people think they've gotten, but a different perspective often helps you make a much higher quality presentation. So thank you, Chef Suzanne. I appreciate what you said. Fantastic. Next week is week 6 in CE 155, facility layout and design. What that means is the course is coming to an end. So we do have special arrangements for the end of the block. We want to make sure that everybody has their final assignment and any makeup assignments turned in no later than Sunday, February the 17th by 11:59 p.m. Central Standard Time. We are not taking late submissions because the block has to be wrapped up and then we have to be able to move on to the next block. So for those of you that, procrastinate just a touch, next week is a good idea, a good time to turn that boat around and start running ahead of the game. Sunday, February the 17th by 11:59 p.m. Central Standard Time, all week 6 assignments are to be turned in. Any questions about that? Let's move on and take a look at week 5 here in CE 155. Our class page, I hope everybody got a chance to view our little video up there at the top. Research materials this week touch on a very important part of the restaurant industry, which I'll talk just a little bit about here in a few moments, exterior design and landscaping. And then we have our assignment this week is designing for flow and labor needs, and we're going to get heavily into that here in just a few moments. And then we have a discussion forum this week. The discussion forum, your initial post is due no later than Saturday at 11:59 p.m. Central Standard Time. And you are to respond to 2 classmates no later than 11:59 p.m. Central Standard Time by Tuesday. So your initial post is worth 6 points, and then each of your responses is worth 2 points following that. Responses should be more than "I like that," or something more than "I agree." Respond, share your opinion. We just talked about Chef Suzanne and the way she provides awesome evaluation and feedback. Well, that's a good habit to get into to help your other classmates as well. This week's discussion forum, you're going to be sharing your restaurant design with a class with a little explanation of your food service concept. Before you share, make sure that all of these items are included, including the concept, demographic, BOH, FOH, equipment purchases, employee satisfaction, customer satisfaction. We want to know about all of that stuff in the discussion board. So that is to be done by this Saturday. And we're looking for some good subjective feedback from everybody. A good example of feedback would be, hey, I really enjoyed your concept. I thought it was fantastic. But hey, have you thought about adding this? Or maybe I noticed that you didn't have this. perhaps that would be of assistance to you. That's good feedback, and that helps your other fellow students. Don't be negative. Don't be critical of somebody else's feedback. That's anti-productive, and we want to remain professional. So this is a great opportunity for everybody to network and develop those relationships that are going to continue on. So this week is peer review for our discussion forum.
Chef, we've got some, I'm sorry to interrupt, we've got some questions in the box here that
go for it.
You've got here, what does employee and customer satisfaction mean, and how do you get employee satisfaction and customer satisfaction?
Okay, that is, we didn't cover that topic specifically. What we are looking for in that is, what do you plan to keep your staff happy, right? You've talked about a great work environment. You've designed the operational flow. Some of you have included employee restrooms, some of the little benefits, some of the things that you're going to do to ensure that your work staff is happy, right? We're not interested in creating restaurant owners and managers and chefs that operate as, kind of a sergeants, right? We want our staffs to be happy. What are you going to do to ensure that your customers are happy, right? I'm going to have quality assurance checks. I'm going to communicate with my customers. We might have a small survey that's left on the table to fill out to be reactive to their needs. Does that help with everybody? Yeah? Chef Suzanne, were there any other questions?
There is. There's one more. It says, do we put the pics of front of house and back of house we designed?
You can cut and paste those pictures directly into the discussion forum and size the box accordingly so you can get multiple things on there, and that'll work just fine. Any other questions?
I think that is it for now.
Cool.
Thank you, Chef.
Yeah. And as always, if anybody has any questions, raise your hands, let us know. So we're going to delve into the subject of exterior landscape, or exterior design and landscape at this point in time. I had the opportunity to eat at one of the world's top 50 ranked restaurants a couple years ago down in Mexico City, and it was a wonderful experience. But the hardest thing about the experience was trying to find the facility. There was no sign on the building. It was painted gray with some small windows and just a small door. And that was the way that they set the tone to their facility. The exterior of your facility creates your customers' expectations, right? What is it going to be like? When you pull up to a McDonald's, you've got that huge play area outside, you've got that yellow sign, your kids are anticipating the fun. The exterior sets the tone for the experience. However, should you do a smaller ma and pa type thing, then you're going to change that exterior to be reflective of that, right? Maybe some curtains in the window, smaller facility, maybe a small porch that comes out. That's going to set the experience for your customers as they arrive. Landscaping, I get very concerned about, and exterior design as well. You don't want to dump a ton of money into exterior design. You have to remember that's money that you could utilize as capital to buy new equipment, to do marketing, to do a lot of other things. So be conservative, but make sure it's reflective of your concept. Landscaping, I've had a few friends that have done restaurants, and they have gone berserk with landscaping, right? Whether it be in their courtyard, their foyer, or exterior. And guess what they have on a monthly basis, right? Huge maintenance bills, watering bills, et cetera, et cetera. Landscapers are not cheap, and it costs money to keep all those things maintained. So you want to be conservative. You'll notice that most restaurants have a very low maintenance landscaping, very low water landscaping. And the reason for that is because they're inexpensive, but they do set the point. Does that make sense to everybody? Any questions on that? Elaine?
Yeah, my question is, when we're planning the outside, do we want to kind of carry the theme of what our restaurant is to the outside? Like if we're putting furniture or whatnot, do we want to kind of keep it similar to what the theme is?
That's a great question, and yes and no.
Okay.
For example, I just mentioned eating at that one of the world's best restaurants, and the exterior set their theme with nothing perfectly, right? It was just a gray building, no signage, no nothing, and it was a 3-month waiting list to get into the place.
Okay.
But that set the ambiance to what to expect, right? Sleek, sophisticated, understated, right? But they didn't put any money into it. You know, you don't want to, as well, with if you're doing like a country style cafe, yeah, there are some nuances that you can put out there for maybe the Victorian design of the facility. But at the same time, be conservative, because as you change over time, you don't want to be changing the exterior of your restaurant because it becomes very, very costly.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Heather, what's your question?
It really wasn't a question. It was more of a statement. It was talking about the McDonald's with the playgrounds.
Uh-huh.
They don't do those outdoor anymore. Kids have found snakes in ball pits.
Oh.
And kids were getting hurt. So they started the indoor, and now actually I don't know that any of our McDonald's have any playgrounds at all.
Yeah, liability. Yes, liability. Germs get on the little balls, and then kids get sick, and then mom spills coffee on herself. Next thing you know, everybody's getting sued, right? So you need to be conservative, with your thoughts outside. If you're doing an elegant, Italian restaurant, you might want to consider just staying sleek and sophisticated versus Liberace candles and cypress trees. It's all about where you want your money to go. Everything that comes out of your pocket and goes into your restaurant is still money, right? And it has to be managed like money. The more you have, the more you manage, right? Keep it slim and sophisticated. Any other questions on exterior design and landscaping? No? Good to go. Let's roll on to quickly here to workflow. Kitchens, this whole assignment is really going to you have to be in the frame mind of a chef to do this correctly. This week we are designing operational flow. And, I don't know if everybody remembers Paula Abdul and, how fantastic she was at choreographing. That's where she got her start in the business. And she could create shows that just flowed and everything else. And a commercial kitchen is in itself a true sense of choreography. And everything has to be thought out in advance and choreographed properly. You need to be in the mindset of a chef. We move, we jerk, we twist, we bump, we rise, we lower. And if it's not choreographed properly, then you're going to have an operational disaster. Have you ever been in a poorly designed, choreographed kitchen, Chef Suzanne? Yes.
More than I care to count, actually.
Yes. I worked in this Irish pub. I don't know how I ended up there, but it was during the drinking days. But the deep fryer, there were 3 65-pound deep fryer units, massive, kicked out a tremendous amount of heat. But between that and the counter was only 24 inches, right? So you have a guy that's trying to deep fry, fish and everything else, and then you have another guy right behind him that's trying to prepare salads and entrees, and they're bumping and they're jiving. One has to stop for the other one to do the work, and so the flow, it just came to a stop. A busy Friday night, you've got one guy standing there waiting for the other guy to finish cooking his fish. So that's an issue of operational flow. And another thing that we're going to really start elevating, I think this class does a really good job of it, is we're trained to cook. In your beginning classes, you learned brunoise, julienne, sanitation, how to work the saute pan. You learned a lot of great techniques. That's cooking. That's being a chef and cooking. Now, chefs, executive chefs, are concerned not only with that, but with the entire operation, right? We're focused on every aspect of the restaurant, and that's where we really need to take our minds with this exercise. you're no longer worried about just brewing wine. You're worrying about if you can have 6 people brewing wine, 4 people deep frying, and 2 people sauteing effectively together. That's a big issue. Another thing that we're going to focus on this week too for this exercise is you're going to need to focus on the movement of all of your people. You need to actually think, if you're going to be working with 2 assignments or 2 dishes this week that you're going to run through your kitchen. We're going to show you how here in just a moment. But you have to think each dish through all the way, right? So for example, if I'm doing a chicken Caesar salad, I know that I have to go to the walk-in, I've got to get chicken, I've got to thaw it out, I've got to prepare it, I've got to marinate it if so be, I have to grill it off, I have to wash my lettuce, I have to make my dressing. You know, is that going to work with my saute guy that is trying to butcher chicken as well, slice garlic, chop chives, you know, that whole thing? Is everything going to dive? You're going to be looking for bottlenecks this week. Bottlenecks being defined as, do we have 2 people trying to cross and work in the same area at the same time? That happens so often in restaurants, and it creates a nightmare. There's nothing worse than having 10 tickets hanging and having a guy stand there to wait for somebody else to bend over to get inside the reach in and grab the salmon. Because when he opens the door, the walkway is too narrow, and so you bring your staff to a stop, right? I currently help out of the street on the weekends, and we get extremely busy. We have to stop what we're doing because the dishwasher has to walk down, carry the plates, put them into the window, and then leave the line again. And of course, the dishwasher is slow moving. And that kills us operationally, because when they designed the restaurant, there wasn't enough area or enough space for the dishwasher to load the plates from the front, right? So that's a design, that's a prime example right there. You're also really going to be elevating your workforce when you have a properly designed kitchen for workflow. What I'm talking about is they're going to be happy because they're going to be productive, and they're not going to have to struggle to get their jobs done. That makes sense to everybody? There's nothing more frustrating than having to stand there and wait for somebody else. So you delete a lot of these little frustrations that are going on. And this whole project, without a proper workflow in a kitchen, it leads to a complete disaster, and it also leads to a lot of hazards, people getting cut, people getting hurt, people getting bumped into. I can't tell you how many times somebody has been standing there at their cutting board chopping, and somebody else bumps into them because they're trying to open up the oven, right? Now you're dealing with an employee that has a cut finger, and look at Dan, he says yes. You know, that's absolutely true. You're also going to really focus this week on why we have created zones within the kitchen. Zones being the pantry area, the hot line, the saute station, prep area. All of these zones are going to have a particular play in this week's assignment, right? You cannot have your pantry cook grilling chicken on the hot side during the middle of service, can you? It doesn't work. Otherwise, you're going to have this little pantry cook come walking down the hotline, bumping into all your cooks to get access to the grill, right? So these are things that need to be thought through. This whole exercise is all about proaction before reaction. It's extremely important. One of the things that we use in industry to direct our workflow is our POS system. POS is short for point of sale. That system accumulates all of our data as far as what we bought, who we bought it, when they bought it, all that kind of good stuff. But it also sends the orders to the appropriate areas in the kitchen. For example, if I have somebody that orders a Cobb salad and we'll say chicken piccata, it's going to send a ticket to the pantry, and then it's going to send a ticket to the saute station or to the hotline which will direct the workflow about who is preparing what. So the POS system plays a very active role in the communication as well. We also use a system in the kitchen, and it's a term that you're going to need to become familiar with. HACCP is something that was instituted, I think it was the 1980s or the early 1990s when it became instituted into the United States. And that stands for Hazardous Analysis Critical Control Point. Larger facilities use this. I think with Bill's 14,000 square foot barbecue place, he might be taking a look at using HACCP to track the flow of food throughout your operation. What that basically does is it's a chart, and that chart will track the flow of your TCS or your sensitive foods throughout your entire operation, and it'll help you as to where it goes. If you're very into opening a restaurant or working in a larger facility, I highly recommend you take your time to look into HACCP and what it's about and what it does. It's a critical system. Also, speaking of HACCP in the kitchen, proper workflow reduces the chances of cross-contamination and foodborne illness. For example, if I have a smaller kitchen and I have my pantry person and my saute person working off the same cutting board, which you see quite commonly in industry, right? So my saute guy reaches down and he pulls out his veal cutlets, puts them on the cutting board, and then my pantry person turns around and puts that tart tatin right down on top of the cutting board, and boom, cross-contamination. It's a big, big liability. So it's something that will really help reduce that quite a bit. Some of the things that we do in industry to help us with workflow, it's really, really difficult. I've seen a couple of places do it where they nail the workflow right off the bat. On opening day, it flows perfectly. But the majority of the places I've seen have to evolve over time. Walk around, survey your staff, talk to your staff, get feedback from the people that are actually working in your facility, how you can better improve the workflow, right? Oops, that's somebody. Hi, Yvonne.
I'm sorry, that was an accident.
No, that's okay, no worries. Yeah, broke up the monotony in my voice. Yeah. Something else that's going to benefit you once you get into industry about creating proper workflow, if you do go to open up a place, is having standardized recipes in place. It is very, very difficult to guesstimate your workflow or your operational flow without it, right? You don't know all of the steps. So that's why we harp so much on these narratives. We harp so much on these, on the recipes and everything else, because it's all part of the managerial process. If I have a properly laid out recipe with proper steps, I can look at it and I can say this person's going to need to go from A to B to C to D to Z, right? And I can design it and lay it out that way. But if I have a poorly written recipe, somebody that doesn't do their narratives very well, I'm going to be stuck guessing. And I don't want to spend $250,000 on the development of a kitchen guessing. It just doesn't make sense. So do your research. It'll really help you out. Something else you really need to do before you do your operational flow is you need to have your operational procedures lined out. Operational procedures are oftentimes overlooked in the restaurant industry, which I think is a tragedy. You have to line things out specifically: what, when, where, and how, right? If I know on Tuesdays that I'm going to be doing all of my prep in the back end of the kitchen with my braised short ribs, I'm going to be roasting my top round, I'm going to be poaching my fish, all that kind of stuff's going on in the back on Tuesdays, and I didn't do an operational procedure on when I'm going to order and how I'm going to order, and I decide that I'm going to get a big order in on Tuesday, and then that comes in and it sits right there in the middle of where everybody's trying to prep, it's not thought out properly. So if you put operational procedures in place, you're going to eliminate a lot of those risks. and save yourself a lot of heartache, right? Trash cans. We empty our trash cans every day between 5 and 6 p.m. Simple, right? Go around, you collect all the garbage between 5 and 6, you take it out. You know for your operational flow that at that time, you're going to have somebody carrying large containers through your kitchen out your back door, right? So that will save you some of the struggle. Do we have any questions so far? Any thoughts? Anything? Because if I talk too much, I put myself to sleep.
It looks like there is some deep thought going on. So I'm thinking they're just hanging on every word.
Don't do that. That's scary. Yeah. As let's see. Let's go to Bill. What's going on, Bill?
Well, you just mentioned, taking out trash 5 to 6. That's a hypothetical, right?
Yeah, it's very hypothetical, right?
Between 5 and 6, I think you'd be kind of busy at the dinner crowd. I don't think you want. All right, you threw me.
And I'll give you another explanation, right? You're talking about doing and I mentioned your 14,000 square foot place, and I think that's kind of a cool thing, but which would mean that the dining room is going to be very large. So part of my operational procedure would be that every afternoon between 3 and 3:30, we will mop or vacuum the dining room floors. Okay. So what that tells me is that I'm going to pull my labor into a specific area. So operationally, I have to be designed for them to be able to handle this task efficiently, right? Instead of I've worked at so many places, oh, just wait till it's dirty or wait till then. And the next thing you know, you have busters trying to do table work and then the floor's not done yet and things get out of whack. So if you line it out, and I hate to use this term, but it's so true, if it's militant in design, it will be militant in efficiency. And efficiency equates to profitability. So it's boom, boom, boom. It's very, very simple. If you've ever dealt with a franchise property, we were looking at bringing a Ruth Chris into one of the hotels I was working at. And when they showed up with their books and books and books of operational procedures, it was amazing. That's why they make so much money, because everything is forecasted, operationally laid out. Charlotte, what's up? Charlotte.
Hi.
Hi.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
I'm like doing double. I'm using my computer and my phone, so it's kind of.
I like
it. What I wanted to ask was about the operational procedures and the flow. Is it like we're writing a paper of like a flow chart? Do we have to write like a paper or something?
No, we're gonna get into the actual assignment here in just a moment. We're about 2 or 3 minutes away from that. What the operational procedures are in reference to, as you get closer to operating your own facility, opening your own facility, or managing somebody else's facility, you're going to have those operational procedures in effect.
Okay, so basically it's everything down in a book in writing, and it's basically like an agenda for the day, agenda for the week, agenda, and your side work, who does the side work, what they're entailed. So basically the laws and principles of the business, basically.
Exactly. And I'll give you another good example. I've always managed large staffs, right? 100 cooks, 50 cooks, 150 cooks. And I don't like to run around and yell and scream, and that's not my managerial style. But operational procedures create accountability within your organization. If I have a staff member that does not perform to standard, I sit down with the operational procedure and I say, hey, look, you know the procedure. I've shown you how to do this. Is there something I can do to help you, or is there something you don't understand? And at that point in time, that employee is either going to turn and fix themselves, or they're going to end up terminating themselves from your position. You haven't yelled, you haven't screamed, you haven't done anything, but that operational procedure holds people accountable to do their jobs.
So it's like like an employee handbook, like an employee handbook. No,
it's not really an employee handbook. An employee handbook is going to focus more on human resource related issues, professionalism, harassment type issues, policies of the company. Policies are one thing, however, operational procedures are a different thing.
or just basically what their responsibility in the restaurant, their techniques, working up to performances and stuff like that.
Correct. No, it wouldn't involve any policies regarding performance, but it would involve policies regarding operations. For example, if my prep cook was responsible for stocking the dairy in the walk-in, the operational procedure would be all sour cream is to be first in, first out, rotated left to right, with labels exposed to the front on the second shelf in the walk-in, right?
Okay.
Clearly laid out. This is what we do. This is how, and I would go and I'd say, hey, chef, this is how we do this. Do you understand everything on here? And they would read it, and then they would sign off on it, right? He knows, I know, he's been showing, and then I physically demonstrate how to do it. And then when he goes to do his job, he's been properly trained. And this piece of paper holds him accountable. So when I walk in the next week and I notice, hey, the sour cream is now on the bottom shelf with the labels pointing backwards. I don't have to yell. I don't have to scream. I just get that little piece of paper and I say, hey, you know, is there something you didn't understand about this? Or is there something I can do to help you? Right? It's real simple. There's no yelling, no screaming. It's a high pressure environment, right? There's a lot of stress in restaurants, right? We got to get stuff out. We got to make it rock. We got to make it happen, right? And if you walk around your kitchen yelling like a drill sergeant, you're only going to elevate that level of stress and make things worse, right?
Yeah.
That, and
sure.
You're going to have a lot of people walking in and out of your restaurant. You don't want that back door being a turning door, right? Employees
I think,
are
like you said, it's about being professional, have it all down in writing, protect the company's image, and that employees, for him to know what he's doing. It's kind of like again, it's communication. I think that's really the key.
Huge communication. If I walk in and I find that sour cream, you know, if I ask Chef Suzanne, hey, Chef Suzanne, just make sure the sour cream gets up there on the shelf. And then I come in the next week and it's not there, and I say, hey, Chef Suzanne, what happens? Oh, well, Bobby told me it's okay to put it on the left side. And then, you know, Susie came around. She said you could put it up over there. Isn't that right, Chef Suzanne? That happens in restaurants all the time. Who do you hold liable?
That happens in my kitchen in my house. I'm just saying. It happens everywhere.
Yeah. Mom this, dad that. And you just can't do that, right?
Yeah.
Because now I have to pay Chef Suzanne to do it right. And if I would have organized and had operational procedures in place the first time, I would have saved myself that 10, 20 bucks, right? I could use that for something else. Heather, what is your question?
Well, I'm in the pharmacy business, and I was just going to make a comment that we have computer-based training.
Uh-huh.
So if one employee messes up, say they sell something underage or something, the whole staff has to go through the CBT, even though we've already done it before. So, in other words, you know, it's kind of like that. In other words.
Yeah, it's the same. It's the same principle, and you know, that's just for your future too. I think one of the most effective tools of communication in the kitchen is also staff meetings that are held in the kitchen, and you don't see those often enough in industry. And you know, spending time with your staff, just talking and sharing ideas and soliciting ideas from your staff, it makes them feel as though it's their restaurant, right? You want your staff to have ownership in your facility. Ownership is a frame of mind. If my prep cook walks in to my kitchen and he thinks it's his kitchen, I am blessed, because you know what? He's going to take very good care of it. He's going to be very proud of the product that he serves because I've given him ownership, right? And so it's a frame of mind. There has to be a limit, obviously, about what ownership is. But if they take pride and ownership in their work, right? So I'm a big believer in accountability. big believer. You cannot hold somebody accountable unless you have proper operational procedures in hand. So, okay, any other questions? No? Thoughts, concerns? Let's take a look at our week 5 assignment here. And what we're going to do is we're going to go to our restaurant or our facility layout tool that we have been working with since week 1 in this class. There were a couple of questions that I received this week regarding the facility layout tool. It is week 5, by the way. But for those of you that are still looking for the facility layout tool, it is located on week 1 under the red bar that says facility layout tool. You'll click on that and make a copy of that, and that's where you find this sheet. But this will be a continuation for those of you that have already started it, which is the majority. You are going to go to slide 2. Slide 2 has the instructions for week 5. Week 5, choose 2 menu items from slide 1 and mark them with the colored workflow labels on the left margin. You will map out the workflow for each of these on your restaurant layout, okay? You do not have to use every single one of the labels. So, I mean, if it's a fairly simplistic item, you don't have to invent 12 things to do with it, right? But we are talking from store to service, storage to service. Is that correct, Chef Suzanne?
Typically, yes. So for most items, there's normally between, I would say, 3 and maybe 6 steps per item, depending on the actual menu item that you've got.
Okay, absolutely. And then we're going to go to our kitchen that we have designed. And congratulations, everybody, on doing a great kitchen that you've laid out. And so we have your back of the house here. And this is for our casual or fine dining restaurant right here. And we're going to do pretend, or I can move some stuff over here real quick. You know, this is our hotline. This is where we're cooking everything. Then we have some coolers here in the back, right? And then we have sinks in the dish area over here, all that kind of good stuff. So this is the kitchen that we've laid out and Chef Suzanne has taken a look at. So let's just say that we're going to do, what's a good item, Chef Suzanne? Chicken. Chicken.
You know, I do love the chicken. Let's say a chicken Caesar salad.
Chicken Caesar salad. Okay, so we know in the walk-in, right, our chicken Caesar salad, that's going to originate, we'll use green for that, okay? We will have put in green next to the menu item up over here. So if this is chicken Caesar salad, chicken Caesar salad, right? So Chef Suzanne will take a look at slide 1, and she will know that you are working with chicken Caesar salad because it has the green star next to it. Okay? Is that correct? So we have the green star next to the chicken Caesar salad because that will signify to Chef Suzanne that your workflow chart, green, is a chicken Caesar salad. So then you're going to go to your kitchen and using the green label, because you're doing the chicken Caesar salad, you're going to start, where do you keep the lettuce and the chicken and everything? Anybody?
In the walk-in.
In the walk-in, okay. So that would be the starting point, correct? So that's 1. Where's it going to go after the walk-in? What do I need to do to the lettuce?
Wash it.
Wash it.
Okay, so then I have to take my second green dot and got to go to the sinks here, the prep sinks preferably, not the dish sinks, right? So after I wash it, where's it going to go?
Prep it.
You're going to prep it in the pantry area, most likely, right? And we'll say this is your hotline. So then I'm going to take my third dot, and I'm going to put it right here.
Chef,
Does that make sense to everybody?
can I ask a question?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, you're saying that chicken, the salad, you get your greens, and then you say you wash it. Don't you cut it first and then wash it?
No, you should. That's a chef's call. I've seen, the majority of the places I've worked in, we've cut it, put it into ice water, washed it, pull it out.
Because that's in every place that I've worked, they always tell me just cut it first and then wash it, and you put it in your salad spinner to take all the water out. So I just want to make sure I don't want to do it wrong.
No, I've worked in other places too where we wash the whole heads of romaine, red leaf, green leaf, whatever, escarole, whatever the lettuce may be. Take the whole head, submerge it, shake it into the water, and then pull it out, and then put it into a perforated, what we call a Lexan, which is a large tray with holes, and allow it to drain slowly. And then when we need it, we cut it up.
Okay.
So
thank you, Chef.
It's a chef's call.
Okay, thank you.
And then theoretically, now you've got your lettuce up here, and then we'll say that the chicken is cut off or cooked off for this exercise. You're going to need a charbroiler up here. So we'll say the fourth step, we need to cook the chicken. Traditionally, for a chicken Caesar salad, it is grilled. Is that correct? Huh? So we're going to take our fourth dot, and our fourth step will be using the grill. And then our sixth step would be assembly of the product, which we'll say that we'll assemble over here in the pantry area. And then after it is assembled, it's going to go, well, let me put the dot there. It's going to go to the dining room. Right, it'll go up into the window for the expediter right here, and then it heads out. So now we've determined the flow of the Caesar salad to be like that. Do you have anything to add to that, Chef Suzanne?
Well, for those that may have had issues with their actual back-of-house layout, this could be an issue that you may have to actually adjust your kitchen first, which technically you should do that anyway. You should adjust your layout to get it the way that that really needs to be set up. And so once you get your dots in place, what you really need to do is make sure that it's not overlapping. So you don't want the this particular cook to have to cross back over themselves and go from the walk-in to the prep area, back to the walk-in, back to the grill. So when you're putting your dots down, make sure that it's really creating one particular, maybe like a letter C or a letter L. You don't want it to look like you don't want it to look like some sort of football, what are those things called, Chef? You know what I'm talking about? Like a football plays.
Game plan.
Should be pretty direct routes that your staff is going through. And imagine once you get the second item on, like I don't think Chef's going to do a second item, but if he did, like let's say the second item would be
you want to walk me through it, and I'll drag and drop?
Well, okay, so let's say we've got shrimp Alfredo as our second item, and so that would be maybe the red dot, right? So Chef would label that on the first page as shrimp Alfredo with a red dot, and then he's going to start with his red dots for getting the shrimp out of the walk-in, and then maybe it heads to the grill, and then maybe the pasta is at the stove. And so what he doesn't want is those cooks to have to constantly be crossing over each other or their own selves, if that makes sense. So you're basically trying to make sure that your staff is having the least amount of steps, the least amount of work, and a nice flow to it. So if you look at the grading rubric, on the class page. Did we show that yet? I don't even remember.
Nope.
I already forgot. It basically is saying that you need to make sure that there's not a lot of foot traffic and overlap and interruptions. And so if your kitchen was set up really well, this assignment should be a piece of cake. If when you set up your kitchen, you had, you know, your stove over here and down around a corner on the other side of the sink is your grill, and in your walk-in was, that's the problem. And that's what this assignment is letting you see, that you did or did not do a good job on the layout. And in order to get the grade, you basically need to make your kitchen efficient for the workflow. Does that make sense? Did that make sense?
Well said. Well spoken. Absolutely. I'm surprised you didn't choose a chicken dish for the second one, though.
Well, I didn't want to just go totally overboard with the chicken. I do love the chicken, but I just not go.
Can we do chicken Alfredo instead of shrimp Alfredo?
We could.
Yeah, this way we stay consistent. Yeah, so we have less chicken. But this week's rubric is all laid out right here. 20% ingredients and stations are easily accessible. Big issue. Footsteps, like Chef Suzanne just mentioned, something we really want to take a look at. Do you have traffic crossing over and bumping into each other, right? 10% items placed to be stored on a clear path a clear path to be delivered to FOH, right? So once the food comes up into the window, is it a clear path to get out to the dining room so those servers aren't bumping into your cooks? Flow has no interruptions, little overlap, right? We don't want any head-on collisions in the kitchen. Not good, right? Explanation of why labor projections from food and beverage cost control work with this job. That is going to be a brief explanation provided by you, right? Hey, I'm predicting that I'm going to have 5 cooks working per shift. Chef Suzanne's going to look at it and go, where are those 5 people going to work, right? So you're going to have to explain that. I'm going to have a dishwasher. I'm going to have a saute cook, a grill cook, and a pantry cook, right? And then a prep cook in the back. Okay, well, that makes sense. And then she can see that with your dots, there's going to be no head-on collisions, right? And then include clear and concise concept summary. Wow, we got questions. We got lots of questions. Yeah. Abigail, what's going on?
Hi. So I had a question about the lettuce. What if there was like a underneath storage underneath like the prep area, like a storage facility where you can like. So I worked at Denny's once upon a time, and they had a cooler to keep the lettuce that's already chopped that you can just like throw on the salad immediately.
You could do that also. You could actually. Ultimately, what we're looking for on this assignment is, like I said, somewhere between 3 and maybe 7 steps for items, for each item. And so if you want to start your travel of that dish for the Caesar salad, you want to start it at your garde manger station, that would probably be fine. I don't think we necessarily have to have everything going, to every single step. The idea is that I should be able to look at it, though, and see that you did chicken Caesar salad because you've got it marked on your page 1. And so when I look at your workflow, I can go, okay, well, looks like you're starting at your garde manger and you've got your chicken on the grill, and then you're going back to your garde manger station to assemble it, and then it's going to the pass-through where your servers will pick it up, and I can see that. I can see that nice line that you've got. So as long as you've got between like 3 and 7 steps, because if you just have 2 items, like 2 steps, that is literally always going to be a straight line. And there are very few menu items that are only going to have two steps.
Ice cream.
Yeah, that's don't do ice cream.
No. And the name for that refrigeration in industry, traditionally we call it low boy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, low boy is under counter refrigeration or reach-in refrigerator. Low boys are the drawers that you pull out. And they'll have proteins or sometimes salad or whatever in there, or a reach-in.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
All right.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Bill, what's going on?
I think Chef kind of just answers my question, but I want to make sure it's good. She's talking about the garde manger station. So, again, that's already going to be prepped with everything that you're going to need because you know what's on your menu. So that's kind of going to be set up kind of like, your Subway has all their stuff in little containers. But when it comes to actually cooking the proteins, if you're working in, because one person's not going to do it all, it's going to be done in different zones. So when we put like number 1, number 2, number 3, do we have to put, all right, number 1 is, the low boy, number 2 is the smoker, number 3 is the,
No, you're just gonna put the labels on. I know what all the equipment is on the diagram.
Okay.
I know what everything is on the layout, so I can just look at it and know that that's a flat top. If you're going from the flat top to the salad cooler, and then you're going to the server pass out, or you're going to the dish area, I can just look at all the equipment and know what it is. You don't need to label it for me.
Okay.
What I'm really looking for is that you've got, a bunch of different dots, and that there's a good workflow to it, and that you may have a C or an L or a U, but you don't have zigzags and flippy doos.
No X's, no Z's, no F's, right? Keep it simple, right? Does that answer your question, Bill?
Yeah. I'm still kind of confused because most of my stuff is going to go from the cooler to the protein is going to go from the cooler to the smoker, and then they're going to come back in. So you see what I'm saying?
That's fine. That's okay. Yeah.
All right. I'll just submit it, and then I'll wait.
That would be 3 or 4 steps. So you would take it out of the cooler, put it in the smoker, take it back out of the smoker, take it to the station, prepare it, and then put it in the pass-through. That would be 5 steps.
Okay.
Not every dish is going to be a perfect C. That is, I think what Chef Suzanne is saying, that's the goal. And that's what we want to see for operational efficiency. But it doesn't work that way each and every time. So basically, you don't want to have the Z's and the C's crossing, right?
Right.
Does that make sense, Bill?
Yeah, I kind of got it now. I was overthinking it, but like I said, I'll just wait. I'll submit it, and Chef's pretty good at giving good feedback and critique. So
you got it.
I'll just wait for her to set me straight, and I'll resubmit
it. She's the best. She's the best.
Good. She is real good.
All right, Charlotte, what's going on with you? What's up, Charlotte?
Sorry. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Turn that off. Okay.
That was super cool. I've never heard that before. I like that.
I like it.
Thank you.
Okay, so say I'm at the pantry area, and I put a little color there where I started my salad. Then I walk over either to the expediter, the head executive chef, and put it on that executive chef's counter. I'll put a little green dot on that counter. But the grill person who's managing the grill, he has a ticket saying a salad with grilled chicken. So he's making the chicken, not me. So should I just drop the plate to him? Then he'll put his chicken on top, and then he puts the chicken to the expediter or the executive, the chef, who puts it up on the line.
Your expediter is not going to be passing food back and forth because that'll kind of defeat the purpose of them. Therein lies the challenge and the thought process behind this exercise. Now, is the chicken, is that going to be something that you want to grill off each and every time? Because as you lay it out, you might find out there's some real operational inefficiency by doing that system. Or do you want to pre-grill all your chicken and chill it and then have it sliced and ready to go and put it right on top of your salad? Is that operationally more efficient? Or is it operationally more efficient to grill the chicken each time you have a salad? Perhaps your grill is in the wrong area, that your grill needs to be moved down a little bit if that's something you're going to be selling quite a bit of, and you do want to grill it to order each time, then perhaps you need to take a look at relocating your grill so it's closer to your pantry station so they can just exchange.
So basically what I do is I would make a salad, and then after I'm done with the salad, I'm working along with the griller person because he's standing next to me. Okay. And then once he's grilling the chicken, he'll say, fire the salad because the chicken's about ready.
So the salad will go from the pantry to the grill station?
From the pantry to the grill guy.
To the window.
And then he'll put the chicken on top, and then he drops it off at the expediter or the chef on the front.
Perfectly acceptable. Perfectly acceptable. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Ladies and gents, do we have any other questions? No?
I will say again real quick though, if your kitchen is set up correctly. So, and I think in most cases, I'm pretty good about letting you know if there's issues in your kitchen, things that you would need to change. So in reality, if you make some of those adjustments and then you start putting some of these workflow dots in there, it'll all come together. And what you want is a nice, smooth, efficient looking kitchen. Again, if you've got somebody that's running all back and forth over the kitchen, that's not very efficient, right? So you're not going to want to pay a cook to spend all day running back and forth and back and forth and back and forth 10 times to make one salad, right? You want those steps to be pretty efficient. And that's essentially what this is. So if your kitchen is arranged efficiently, this will not be super, super hard. It sounds a lot more menacing than it is. You're just picking 2 of your items from your sheet. You're labeling them, whatever color dots make you happy, red and green, red and purple, whatever makes you happy. And then you're going to track those items through your kitchen, making sure those cooks are not smacking into each other, or they're not running all over the place, putting 20,000 steps on their pedometers just to make a couple of small items. And this is the same process whether you have a food truck, whether you have catering. And so we are looking for somewhere between 3 and 7 steps for each item.
Perfect. Good explanation. And Abigail, what was your question?
Should I put into consideration about is having a person at the POS system since I'm having the food truck?
Well, I think in a food truck, traditionally the person at the POS system also kind of double acts as your expediter, if I'm not mistaken, because they're going to be sending some food out. So I would say yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
All right, ladies and gents, awesome week 5 live session. Thank you very much for all your questions and your input. I think Chef Suzanne and I really enjoyed this live session. We look forward to speaking with all of you again next week for week 6. Don't forget that your assignments next week are due no later than Saturday, February the 17th at the end of week 6. And then let's not forget our discussion forum this week. Initial post by Saturday, 2 replies to other students' posts no later than this Tuesday or following Tuesday at 11:59 p.m. Central Standard Time. Have a great evening, everybody. Take care.
Good night.
Thank